Welcome to a special bonus edition of Betting Weekly WTA, the women's tennis betting podcast brought to you in association with Bet Rivers. Yesterday, we looked at the outright futures markets for the first slam of 2025, the Australian Open. Now, Nigel Seeley and myself, Rory Giovanni, will be diving into some of the first round matches in Melbourne. Before we get started, a quick reminder, like and follow us on social media at Because We Win and subscribe to us on YouTube, Betting Weekly Studios. We've just hit the 7,000 subscriber mark, so it's onwards and upwards to 10,000. Get on board with the best betting podcasts and tips on the internet. Apologies again for the sore throat here. Lots of hot lemon and gargling with warm salt water has helped a little bit, but not quite enough for to be in perfect voice. But Nigel's with us. How are you, mate?
Well, I'm a little bit better than you are, Rory. You don't sound too good there. I mean, we spoke yesterday, and you seem to have taken I thought it was Macy Gray on the I was doing the podcast with when I heard your voice there. But anyone who's listening to the show, it's not Macy Gray, it's Rory Giovanni. It honestly is. Anyone who's watching on YouTube, you'll see it is. Yeah, I'm good, mate. All good. I'm looking forward to this. I mean, I got your list through of bets. I mean, it would have been a 2-hour special if we'd gone through all those. But I went through as well, and I found about eight or nine that I dosed, but I condensed them down to 4 official plays, and you've gone down to 5. So we've got quite a lot to run through with the action starting this evening, and hopefully a lot of people watch it, and hopefully we cash. But it is the first major of the year. It is a difficult time to make money. A lot of people come in fresh. And unlike many Australian Opens I can remember, there's a lot of people coming in with injury concerns as well. And a lot of unknowns at the moment. A lot of people this time of year would always go for favourites and put them in big parlays, but that's not really my strategy on these tennis bets. But looking forward to the show, looking forward to the action over the next couple of weeks, and we've got some really, really good stuff here on the YouTube channel. And as you say, please subscribe. 7,000, thank you very much for everyone to hit that, and let's kick on, like you say, to 10,000. That'd be great.
Exactly. So let's get started. First match to look at, and all of these Eastern times, Saturday, 8:10 in the evening. One of the best matches in the first round. Clara Tauson up against Linda Noskova. Tauson, the underdog here, which surprises me slightly. -104. Tauson, who won in Brisbane at the start of the year. Beg your pardon, won in Auckland at the beginning of the year. She won one of the first 2 tournaments first week. Linda Noskova -120. The spread, Tauson -1.5 games at +120, +1.5 games at -157. Games line is 22.5, quite high, over 22.5, -112, under 22.5, -114. Now, this was actually one match that was on my long list and I discarded it, but Nigel has it on his short list. Nigel, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, I think you probably discarded it because I think you knew where I'll be going on this. I think that's probably what you thought here. As I said on the preview show yesterday, and as I've said since the first show of the week, I've been kicking myself for 2 weeks that I never bet Clara Tauson at 22-1 with Bet Rivers to win that tournament in Auckland. Absolutely gutted. I gave a big G up for her. I told you everyone, But it goes back to many years ago, before Raducanu won the US Open, I was asked to write an article in a magazine, and they said to me, could you name a player that you want to follow? And I wrote a piece about Clara Tauson, and anyone who's followed my career or anyone who's seen my tennis stuff will know that I've mentioned this girl on numerous occasions. We've had so many false hopes with her. She's gone into a world beater, and then suddenly she's run into an injury. She's gone deep in majors before. She's gone deep in tournaments, in big tournaments as well. And then the following week, she's had an injury problem. The poor girl has been absolutely riddled with injuries, but she's only 22. I mean, it's staggering to think. I mean, I was writing about her when she was a 16-year-old. I was really bullish at the time that I said that she'd be a future number 1. I don't think that's going to come to fruition, but I do think she can break the top 20 if she has a year without any injuries. And injuries has been a big, big problem here. She's been given a very, very tough draw against Linda Noskova in the round 1 here. Noskova's 29 seeding here. Tauson's moved from 50 to 41 in the only parts of the week. But my tennis strategies from ever since I got involved in betting on tennis as a sort of a 21-year-old, 23-year-old lad who was doing odds compiling on tennis, I always was intrigued by matches where there was 50-50 calls. I never really looked for 7-on shots or -$7 or -$8 shots or stuff like that. I always went to matches that were 50-50, -110 each, on a match like this, because I found there was the value here because the favourite that I expected to be favourite wasn't the favourite. And this is a classic example of that. I think Clara Tauson should be the favourite here. Not particularly on what we've seen this year, which has been exceptional, but I think that she's a better all-round player than Noskova. I think they're both talented players. I mean, Noskova's only 20 and a great talent, but I think if Clara Tauson hadn't had the injury concerned, you'll be talking about a player here that would have perhaps made a semi-finals or finals of majors and be in the top 10 in the world. She started the year 5-0. And I think it's so important to start the season in the men's and the women's draw in form. She started it at form. Noskova, very concerned about her defeats. I mean, she got beat by Sakkari 6-3, 6-3 in Adelaide. I mean, Sakkari's, that's at this time of her career, I wouldn't think that. She got absolutely annihilated by Mira Andreeva 6-3, 6-love set. I don't think she's started the year very well. I think she's under a little bit of pressure to maintain her ranking because she got to the quarterfinal here last year in 2024. And Tauson's hungry. And I think it's the wrong favourite. So my first official play on the women's singles is Clara Tauson -104 to beat Linda Noskova. And if anyone had watched the show in the last couple of weeks or anyone had been watching our shows throughout the season so far, that is the first 1.01 shot of the year that's cashed, because that was an absolute certainty that I was going to lead with Clara Tauson. It's tonight, 8:10. Head across to the BetRivers website. There may be changes on that. I expect the money to come for the Dane, and I think it's a great price, -104. So Clara Tauson to beat Linda Noskova is my first bet of the women's singles at the Australian Open.
Yeah, it's funny because when Noskova burst onto the scene, when she reached the final in Adelaide a couple of years ago, I looked at her and thought, she looks very much like Clara Tauson, quite similar games. And Noskova, when you had Tauson as one of your players to follow, I had Noskova as one of my players to follow. But she's been very disappointing at the start of the season. And I agree with you. I think she's a false favourite here. And yeah, totally with you. I think Tauson could win this one. So that's the first one to get us underway. And next is another one of Nigel's matches, Laura Siegemund against Hailey Baptiste. Siegemund +105 outsider, Baptiste -130. Yeah, what do you make of this one, Nigel?
Well, it's not going to be an official play. My first play is just a match I wanted to talk about here. I like Hailey Baptiste here, but BetRivers are very clever to be the shortest price around. I think the -130 is probably the right price. So I'm not going to make it an official play, but I think the American gets the job done over Siegemund. Laura Siegemund is a tour veteran. She's 36 years of age. She's 13 years older than Hailey Baptiste. And in all those years that she's been playing the Australian Open, Siegemund, she's never got past the third round here. There's hardly anything between them on the world rankings. There's hardly anything between them on the schedules, on the prices here. But Siegemund, to me, isn't playing at all well. I mean, she got beaten qualifying in Adelaide by Bencic. Very, very easy. Very, very easy. She went to the United Cup. She got beat by Raducanu, and she beat Haddad Meyer, but she got beat by, I can't pronounce the lady's name. I think it's Gao, Gao. I've never even heard of her, but she's like ranked. She's a Chinese player who's ranked 146 in the world, and she got beaten by her. And one of her only wins this season was in qualifying in Adelaide against Gui, Guo, a Chinese player again, who's ranked 497 in the world rankings, and this is the form for Siegemund coming in it. Baptiste got through to the quarterfinals of Auckland, played exceptionally well, played really, really well against Naomi Osaka, took a set off her. She had chances against her. So I think Hailey Baptiste wins here. I think it may be one for the parlays at -130, but BetRivers are very, very shrewd here. They are the biggest price in the world, Laura Siegemund, and they're the shortest price on Hailey Baptiste. I think they're absolutely spot on to do that. So for that reason, I'm not going to have it an official play, but I will be betting Baptiste if I can get bigger than -130. But very clever from BetRivers here. No official play, but I'm going with the American to get the job done over the tour veteran Siegemund, who I think is just on a farewell tour.
Yeah, one thing to note, I mean, Siegemund much better on slower surfaces, and Baptiste seems to enjoy these quicker conditions, which you'll find in Melbourne. Moving on to Sunday at 8:10, Magdalena Frech against Polina Kudermetova. This is one of my picks. Frech +123. Kudermetova, the younger sister of Veronika Kudermetova, minus 155. Spread is 2.5 games. Totals 21.5 games. I think Frech is a bet here. Kudermetova did really well in Brisbane, reaching the final. She took a set of Arina Sabalenka. She's very much an all or nothing player. At times Sabalenka was in the strange position of waiting for her opponent to make a mistake, which doesn't happen very often with Sabalenka. I think the problem Kudermetova faces here is that Frech is a player who will make her play the extra ball and force errors. And Frech's ranked 24 in the world. I mean, that's largely thanks to her victory in Guadalajara last season. She's won both their previous meetings very comfortably. Obviously, Kudermetova's a stronger player now. I'm not convinced conditions will be all that quick when they meet. And I think, Kudermetova, I just get the feeling that Brisbane performance, a little bit of a flash in the pan. She's very inconsistent. When it's going well, it's going really well. When it's not, it just isn't. And I think Frech will force the errors. And I like Frech on the money line here at plus 123. Nigel, you got any views on this one?
No, not really. It wasn't one that I looked on the shortlist. I mean, it's so hard to have views on so many matches. There's 64 different matches, 29 different markets, and every single match on the Bet Rivers app. And make sure you download it. And obviously, if you do download the app and you have a bet, you'll be able to watch the match. So, I mean, no. I mean, I tend to really dive into maybe a dozen matches and try to not get involved in too many other ones. And this one here, I just didn't have any opinion. But the next one that you're going to speak about, I did have that down on my shortlist. So I'm intrigued to where you're going to go on that one.
Okay, let's move on to that without further ado. Again, 8:10, Sunday evening. Belinda Bencic, minus 190 on her return from her baby break against Jelena Ostapenko at plus 150. Bencic, minus 2.5 games at minus 129. Ostapenko, even money, plus 2.5 games. And total games is 21.5. Honestly, I'm surprised Ostapenko's the underdog here. I mean, Bencic, she hasn't beaten anyone of note since she's come back. She reached the final of the Angers Challenger to Alicia Parks. In the United Cup, she was thrashed 6-1, 6-1 by Jasmine Paolini. In Adelaide, she beat Anna Kalinskaya, who withdrew injured in the second set. Then she went out to Ludmila Samsonova in Adelaide. I mean, Ostapenko's not been in great form herself. She lost the opener in Brisbane to Marie Balshkova. She beat Magdalena Frech, who we just talked about in Adelaide. And then she went down in 3 sets to Madison Keys, who's just won the tournament in Adelaide. So that's not hideous form. I just don't understand the prices here. They're 1-1 in the head-to-head, although their last meeting was 5 years ago, actually at the Australian Open, which Bencic won. Overs games would have cashed in both of those previous meetings, so I wouldn't put anyone off that. But I think this is much closer than the odds say. And so I think Ostapenko's overpriced at plus 150.
Yeah, she was on my shortlist, Ostapenko. I liked her at plus 150. I thought it would probably be a 50-50 call, and even marginal favour for Ostapenko. I suppose that everybody knows how erratic, inconsistent, moody
all of those
Ostapenko
things.
is, and I think that's the reason why bettors don't really like her. They don't really trust her. But I think she's an absolute auto bet when it comes to totals. I mean, you touch on it there, 21.5. I mean, I'd be absolutely shocked if this doesn't go over 21.5 games. I think this is a great call. Both previous meetings between them was cashed, 7-5, 7-5 here. And this looks like it's going to go the distance to 3 sets. It's just got that kind of feel about it. Bencic is obviously going to be rusty after having a long time off, her first major for a couple of years. And Ostapenko, we just know what to expect. She's the kind of girl that wins a set 6 love and then loses a set 6 love. That's why you can't play the spread, because she could quite easily drop a set so badly that she could win the match and not cover the spread. So the spread in this match should go completely out the window. I think the money line is massive on Ostapenko at plus 150, and I do like the total games as well. So total agreement with you. I took that one out, but I will be betting Ostapenko. But I took it out because I saw you had it, probably for the same reasons as Tauson. So I didn't want to rain on your parade. But I do agree with you. Ostapenko here at plus 150 is a great bet on the money line.
Okay, moving on to later on Sunday at 9:30 in the evening. And we've got the number 2 seed, the world number 2, Iga Swiatek, up against Katerlina Siniakova. Siniakova, a massive plus 1,050, Swiatek minus 2,000. Spread, Siniakova plus 6.5 games at minus 105. And total games, 17.5. I'm not going to have a bet on this one. But if Siniakova's on a going day, and the operative word is if, I mean, she's better known for her doubles exploit. She won countless slams with Barbara Krejcikova, who's sadly out injured. For me, Swiatek still doesn't convince in quicker conditions. She was beaten in straight sets by Coco Gauff in the United Cup. And Siniakova played well in Adelaide this week. She defeated Aisling Kruger, and then she fell in 3 sets to Deanna Schneider. That was a really strange match. Siniakova dropped the first set 6-3, won the second 6-love, and then lost the third 6-love. I think Swiatek might take a little while to get going. I could see the Czech being competitive, certainly in the first set. Maybe Swiatek will go clear in the second. No official play for me here, but if I was going to have a bet, I'd lean to over 9.5 games in set 1 at plus 185. Nigel, any thoughts for you here?
Not really, Rory. Dangerous strategy, playing over games in Iga Swiatek matches. I think she's won more 6-love sets than any other woman on the tour. She comes out flying and she tries to blow on players off the court very early on. That's been her tactic. Siniakova is a wily old player who's been around for a long, long time, who could make it competitive at the beginning. I could see the logic in it, but for me, it's a swerve. I wouldn't be getting involved in that. But I wish you all the best. But it's not an official play, so yeah, wish you all the best on that one. But I think I can understand your angle. But we've made so much money. Well, you made a lot of money last season betting Iga Swiatek to win 6-love, 6-1 in sets. It's just, and she started off this season really, really well, and she looks hungry, and she looks like she wants to. She's sort of, not many people are talking about her to win the title, even though she's got a very favourable draw. I know a lot of people she's not considered a fight. She's up there second favourite, but people will say Sabalenka, Goff, and then her. But she wants to be up there competing with them, not the third choice, but as the number 1 choice. So I think she's going to be really, really pumped for this, especially after a drug issue as well. And I think she might come out a bit fiery, but good luck with it. Not for me.
Thanks, Nigel. We move on to the early hours of Monday morning. And one that really caught my eye, Elise Mertens against Viktorija Golubic. Mertens minus 235, Golubic plus 185. Golubic plus 3.5 games at minus 104 on the spread, and total games set at 21.5 games. I think the bookies have missed something here. Golubic is on a 14-match win streak, which started with her winning the 250 in Zhang at the start of November. She won the Limoges Challenger in mid-December. She's absolutely cruised through qualifying in Melbourne. Mertens has shown she's in good form too. She reached a fine in Hobart, got beaten this morning by Mccartney Kessler. Conditions there were slow, really slow. Service hold percentage is just around 61%. The Australian Open will probably play at least 65, so should be a good deal quicker. Golubic is used to the conditions. She's been through qualifying. She was as high as 35 in the world just under 3 years ago, and I think she's at that level again now. And last year, when she wasn't in great form, she defeated 15th seed Veronika Kudermetova in round 1, and then she beat Siniakova in round 2. I think plus 185 is a massive price here.
I'm always wanting to fade Mertens. I think she's a player that, I think she's had a day. I bet against her this morning, which I gave on Betting Weekly Live yesterday. That I gave McCartney Kessler to beat her, and I collected the money again. Happy to oppose Mertens at any kind of price. And minus 235 is a price that I would never bet her in the world. I didn't realise that Golubic was on such a good winning run. which makes it very, very interesting. But sometimes with these kind of prices, plus 185, you could get the huge value, and you could be trading minus 120, minus 130, and then she doesn't get over the line, but she takes a set and she doesn't win it. So my strategy in sort of matches like this, I'd probably take the plus 3.5, at minus 104, and just hope that Mertens doesn't run away with the set, because sometimes, especially the favourites tend to win round one at majors. You do get the odd shock, and it's nice to pick them out, but countless times I've had kind of bets like this where I've been on someone at plus 250, plus 185, plus 275. They've won the first set, got beaten a tie break in the second set, and then lost it in set number 3, and the spread would have covered. So for me, I'd probably play the spread at the fight. Golubic plus 3.5 is the underdog. So Mertens to win by 4 games, I wouldn't trust her to cover that spread easy. So I like your way of thinking. You've got a good argument. It's one match that I didn't really look at in detail, but now you said it, I will have a small bet on Golubic, that's for sure, but I'll probably have a bigger bet on the spread.
There we go. Moving on to Monday evening, and this is back to Nigel. An interesting first round match. Ekaterina Alexandrova plus 125. She's seeded against Emma Raducanu, the former US Open champion. We haven't seen yet this year. The Brit is minus 155. Alexandrova plus 2.5 games, minus 120. Total games at 21.5. What's your thinking on this one, Nigel?
My thinking on this one is Raducanu is ridiculously short at minus 155. I mean, I tipped her I thought she might start the season in good form. I tipped her on the show for the tournament in Auckland, thinking that she's going to start the new year fully fit. We might see a different Raducanu. It was a very weak tournament. And then she pulls out of a back problem. And that was only 10 days ago. She's pulled out of a back problem. Her preparation for this tournament hasn't been ideal. She's had all kinds of issues. She's apparently been attacked by a load of insects and bitten by flying ants and various different stuff. And she refuses to put treatment on it because of what happened to Yannick Sinner. She doesn't want to fail a drug test. Well, that can't be right. You can't be being attacked by... if I have one mozzie bite on holiday, the whole world's over. Like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing. If she got multiple bites and she's not treating them, well, that's not ideal. The other thing about her as well is that she's woken up this morning, or yesterday morning, she woke up and she's losing a lot of her sponsorships. Christian Dior pulled the sponsorship on her last night, which is worth an absolute fortune to her. So suddenly she's got to really play tennis to get money. The Raducanu lifestyle is falling apart here at the moment. She's not playing tennis. She doesn't look that interested in trying to get back to where she was. She looks like she's going to be a player that's just won one major and never do anything else. And she's up against a really, really, really good opponent who hits the ball extremely hard, who loves these conditions. Alexandrova is the seed. She's 26 seed. I mean, this is Raducanu, who's number 60 in the world. Who could drop. She loses this match, she could drop to about 100. That's how quickly she can drop. She's never got past the second round here, Raducanu. She's only won, I think she's won 3 first round matches. And her record in her whole career, I know Alexandrova's not a top 20 player, but she's only ever beaten 2 top 10s twice in her career. And she's only ever beaten 3 top 20 players ever in her career. I mean, is this the most overhyped sports style we've ever seen? She's won a major, how she ever won it, and that will never happen again. And, where is she now in the current world rankings? I mean, she's 60, but I think that's a false ranking. I don't think she's a top 100 player. We've got no idea about the injury. We have no idea about her mental strength. We've got no idea about the team. She changes her coaches pretty much on a regular basis. She's never been the same since the US Open win. I think I've read somewhere the other day she's had 6 different coaches since the US Open. I mean, that's not, and the one thing that was getting the dollars coming into the bank was marketing and her endorsements, and they're falling by the wayside. So I just can't get my head around Alexandrova being plus 125. I saw Alexandrova live at the US Open play Arina Zabalenka, and she took the first set of her and she out-hit Zabalenka on a hard court. And then Zabalenka upped her levels in set number 2 and set number 3 and completely ran away with it. But Alexandrova is a tough player. She hits the ball extremely hard. She is a very, very, very good player. And I think that, I just can't believe the prices that you're being offered here. So I'm going to have a 1 unit play on Alexandrova to beat Emma Raducanu at plus 120 with Bet Rivers. It's 120, isn't it? Yeah, plus 120. Plus 125. I think that's completely the wrong price. How on earth can anyone bet Raducanu? Honestly.
Yeah, it's a leap of faith, certainly. But the only thing I will say about Alexandrova is she's inconsistent. I mean, when she's on a good day, she can be very good. Other times she just looks very sullen. And I remember in Madrid, I was actually with Sean Calvert and we saw a bit of her match. And I think I may have said this before, but Sean said, what was the word he used to describe her? Just looks sour. He just looked really sour.
I was very fortunate to see her twice last year. I went to Miami, where she beat Iga Swiatek 6-4, 6-2. I was at that match. In that tournament, it was a hard court tournament, which was a fast hard court.
Yeah.
She beat Iga Swiatek, she beat Jess Pegula, and she got to the semi-finals, where she got beat by Collins in the semi-final. She then went to the US Open, where she got through to the third round, and she took the first set. It was a real late match. That match. It was the coolest conditions of the day, because it was right after Djokovic played Popyrin. Popyrin beat Djokovic, and then the final match, the atmosphere was dead because the Djokovic match was insane. And then Sabalenka come on and beat Alexandrova, and she took the first set 6-2, and she absolutely out-hit Sabalenka, who went on to win the tournament. She's capable of beating big players. Her record on hard courts last season was exceptional. Semi-final at Miami, third round beaten by the eventual champion of the US Open, and she got to the quarterfinals in Wuhan at the end of last year. What's Raducanu done? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I just cannot believe she's minus 155. She always gets beat against the seeded players now. She's a player, and I think the winner of this plays Iga Swiatek, didn't they? So it's a big incentive for both players, and Raducanu, just everything's going wrong for her, and she's a massive fade for me.
Moving on, still 7 o'clock Monday evening. Another one of Nigel's matches. Anna Bondar, the Hungarian, minus 115. Yafan Wang from China, minus 107. Pretty close, this one. Total games 21.5. Yeah, you spoke earlier about you like these matches that are the kind of pick-em, toss-up matches. Who are you going for here?
I'm going for Anna Bondar. You got Hungarian girl who's 97 in the world against Wang, who's 64. So Wang is the higher-rated player, but this is an injury play, I think. I mean, in the end, Wang hasn't won a match since the third round when she went deep into the last 16 in the US Open. She beat Azarenka in the third round, but that's the last match she had, and that was back in, I think, August. She hasn't won a match since then. She ended the season in poor form, losing in the first round in Beijing, lost in qualifying in Wuhan. And then she started this season against Katerlina, who isn't in great form, the Ukrainian, and she pulled out with a wrist injury, and it looked a nasty wrist injury, and that was only, again, 10 days ago. Bondar, on the other hand, has started off the season quite well. I mean, she come through 2 qualifying matches in Hobart. She beat Maya Sheriff in the first round at Hobart. She got beat by Anisimova in the last 16, which she was a big underdog to do that. But I think this is an injury play. I don't think Wang's form Wang's form was pretty awful coming into this tournament at the end of last season, coming into this tournament, coming into the new year. It's been dreadful. And she's got an injury, a wrist injury. And I don't think you can recover from a wrist injury that quickly. I think wrist injuries are imperative. You think about an injury, back, you have surgery on it, you think about ankles, there's very different things, but a wrist injury on your serving arm, I think wrist injuries take a bit of time to heal. I'm no physio, I'm no medical expert, but I wouldn't want to be backing someone who had a wrist injury 10 days ago, who pulled out of a match at minus 107. So I'm going to go Anna Bondar at minus 115. I think she's got the better form of the year. There's injury concerns over her opponent. And yeah, I'm going to take her at minus 115. That is my final official play. So just 3 official picks from me, and Anna Bondar makes up my 3 plays.
Yeah, I like that bet. As you say, wrist injuries can take a long time to recover from. I can think of Marketa Vondrausova and Karolina Mukova in recent years, both suffering and being out for several months and needing surgery. So if it's as bad as it sounds, and you do get this with the slams, you do get players who are turning up just for the prize money and just for sort of ranking points, who turn up because even though they haven't played in a long time. I think Danka Kovanic is another who's barely played, and she's in this draw, who is a very, very long price to win her match. But you do get players turning up who are just not fit. So Anna Bondar, the play there for Nigel.
You've got to be careful. You've got to be careful, obviously, checking the rules if a player retires. You know, it's very, very important to check the rules, because there is a if Bondar wins the first set here, there is a huge possibility that Wang might just take the money and run. So check the rules. I'm 99.9% certain that Bet Rivers pay out on a retirement. I'm sure they do. So
after the first set is completed,
yeah,
yes.
So make sure you check the rules on the bet. This is definitely one that you want to be playing with that kind of insurance, that if the set is completed and there's a retirement, then you get paid. You don't want to be playing when you don't get your money if there's a retirement. So check the rules in that one. But I think Bondar at -115 is a great bet.
Last match to look at, also late on Monday, and it's Shuai Zhang of China against Mccartney Kessler, who just won this morning in Hobart. Zhang's a big outsider at +225, Kessler -286. The reason I've picked this match, now, we talked about that insurance on sets, on retirements, and some of you might remember I tipped Shuai Zhang quite a few months back now in Budapest, and she had a very stormy match with a local player called Tot, and Zhang pulled out during the tiebreak. There was a contentious line call, the big kerfuffle. Zhang got into a row with the crowd and with the umpire, and I'd actually tipped Tot to win that match because Zhang was on a really long losing streak. The first set didn't get finished because she pulled out during the tiebreak, so it was a void bet. But Zhang, this long losing streak came to an end in Beijing last year against Mccartney Kessler. She won 2 tiebreaks in that match, and conditions weren't especially quick. The service hold percentage was 63.7. They should be quicker here in Melbourne. As we said, Kessler in Hobart, very slow conditions, service hold percentage of 61. She came from nowhere to win in Cleveland last year, which was really slow, less than 59% service hold percentage. Whereas for Zhang, the faster the better. She made the quarterfinals in Melbourne in 2016. She made the Wimbledon quarterfinals in 2019. And she's playing well. I mean, she came closer than anyone to taking a set off Coco Gauff at the United Cup. She took Gauff to a tiebreak in the opening set. I think this is priced up totally wrong. There's a lot of recency bias here, I think. Conditions too quick for the American, ideal for Zhang. I really like Zhang at +225 here. And I'm also going to have half a point on her to win on the set handicap. In other words, straight sets. But Zhang -1.5 sets at +480, I think is worth half a point. As I said, I just think this is priced up all wrong.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of young players coming through, isn't there, that the market kind of really likes. I mean, you've got the Fonseca, the guy in the ATP Tour Draw, who's gone from a massive price to beat Rublev into like version of being the favourite. The market loves these young kids, but I think it's quite hard for someone to go deep and win a tournament the week before a major and then come into a major again. I think with different conditions, I think it's quite difficult. I think the best play to do is win the tournament 2 weeks before the major. So like, what Tauson has done, win the tournament, have the week off, go in confident. I think it's quite hard. I mean, Mccartney Kessler only won today. Then she's got to go across to Melbourne, and they say it's a big country, Australia. It's still it's quite a flight to get across. Then she's got to get on the practice course tomorrow, and then she's got to get used to conditions up against a dangerous opponent who's probably been there for 4 days ahead of her. So I think that sometimes when you see people who win the tournament, especially these kind of players, young players who are trying to, well, she's not actually young, Mccartney Kessler, but she's on the upward curve, and the market likes her, and they're overpriced. I mean, that is a very low price for Kessler, and the argument you made is great. So again, I'll be having a little bet on that as well. So Zhang for me as well.
Shall we try and round up our bets, Nigel? Shall we start with your plays?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's quite a few I like really in other markets and stuff like that on some other matches, but I've narrowed it down to 3 here, and they're all on these kind of matches that I like. I like these bets where I think you've got the wrong favourite. So Clara Tauson at -104 is my first bet to beat Linda Noskova, and that is this evening at 8 with Bet River this evening in Australia. Head across to that's Eastern time. Head across to the Bet Rivers website to get on that now if you haven't, because you might be watching. So maybe a few hours to go. Hopefully at -104 stands. I do like Hailey Baptiste to win, but I'm not going to put it up as an official bet because I think Bet Rivers are very shrewd to offer -130. So just the Tauson bet so far, the 2 on my official plays. My next bet is Alexandrova to beat Emma Raducanu. I mean, I just can't have Raducanu at -155. So Alexandrova here at +125. Again, if I was betting this, I'd probably make it a 50-50 call, or even the Russian a slight favourite to get +125 is, to me, is just a great price. And finally, I'm gone for Anna Bondar to beat Yafan Wang, -115. I think that's an injury play. Wang has a wrist injury, and she only occurred a few days ago, and I don't think she's going to have enough time to recover. But be careful of that with the injury rules. Bet Rivers will pay you out if the match completes 1 set, and hopefully we can get the 1 set done. Bondar will win. I'm going for Bondar. So 3 official plays for me on the first round of the women's singles in the Australian Open.
And my official plays, just run through them quickly. Jelena Ostapenko +150 to beat Belinda Bencic. Just think this looks a pick and match to me, and Ostapenko overpriced. Magdalena Frech to defeat Polina Kudermetova at +123. I think the young Russian is very, very short, and she's very hit and miss. And I think Frech will force errors from the young Russian. Viktorija Golubic +185 to defeat Elise. Mertens. Golubic on a 14-match win streak, used to the conditions, having come easily through qualifying. And Mertens, having gone deep in Hobart, would prefer slower conditions. And my final official play, Shuai Zhang to beat Mccartney Kessler. I'll have a point on her at +225, and also half a point and on the set handicap -1.5 sets at +480. I just think this is priced completely wrong based on the likely conditions. Zhang is experienced. Kessler would prefer it a lot slower. So there you have it. That's us for looking at the first round matches in Melbourne. Make sure you let us know your tips. Get on our YouTube page and put in your comments what are your best bets for the first round at the Australian Open. Tell us what you think of our picks, and hopefully we can all cash some winners this week. Nigel, thanks for joining us. And
no problem, mate.
Just really looking forward to this tournament. Out of all your bets, what would you say was your best one?
I think that
if you had to pick
play,
one.
I think that injury play at the end. I think Bondar on the injury play, but if that goes to script, I think you've got to be getting there with a player with an injured wrist. But I love the idea of faded Raducanu. I like that at +125 as well. So I quite like all 3 of them, but Bondar probably be my best one.
Yeah, I think for me, Golubic is probably the one, and Zhang as well. I just think that a couple of these are not priced up correctly, and that's what we're looking for here. We're looking for value. We try and do that every week, and we try and give you some winning tips. And even if we don't give you some winning tips, hopefully we'll give you some good logic and some tools to attack the tournament with. And hope you've enjoyed this podcast or YouTube, wherever you've watched this or listened to it. That's it from us for previews as far as Australian Open go. I think we're both appearing on Betting Weekly Live this week, so we should have some more match bets. And Nigel, you're with Sean looking at the ATP as well.
I'm done. We've just done a preview of Sean, the match bets, and we'll be dropping it later on the YouTube channel. The tournament winner show is out, as long as the tournament winner show that myself and Rory have done. The views on that has been really great, so keep watching those shows and keep passing them on to your friends and let them know what's happening. And also myself and Rory are back next week. We're going to do some more matches in the second week of the major as well. So you've got another show for us looking at some of the best bets in week number 2 on the women's draw as well. Women's content is going to be mostly on now uploading on the Betting Weekly Live show, so make sure that you look at that. It's 4 o'clock English time, 11 o'clock Eastern time, every day, Monday to Friday. A lot of women's WTA action going to be on that throughout the Australian Open and in the tournaments through the next year.
Brilliant. Well, that's it from us. Make sure you keep watching. Like, subscribe, comment, interact. Let us know your thoughts on the Australian Open. We'll be back again in just over a week for more Betting Weekly WTA.